You know that moment when life decides to be funny and remind you of your past? Maybe this is a past relationship. Maybe this is a running into one of your exes in a public situation that you can't escape from. You know that little funny thing? Have you ever had that happen to you? Perfect. Well, we're gonna dive into all of that. But first, if you're new here, welcome. This is Healing the Unhinged. My name is Roxanne Ryan, and today we're gonna be diving into running into our exes. And as awkward and as horrible as it can be, this was a really monumental experience for me and helped me heal past something that I wasn't aware that I was still struggling with. Everyone is ashamed of their dating roster or has that relationship that we were like, what the fuck? What were we thinking? And I hope I've had a lot of shame around this kind of topic and this specific experience and this relationship, and it's been really hard for me to talk about. And I think that having to run into him again, this was something that changed my viewpoint on myself and the relationship, that now I feel like I can talk about it in a way that I can step out of it completely now. So, and I'll take one for the team and share my what the hell were you thinking experience. If you've had a toxic ex or relationship, I hope this helps you out just a little bit. And if you haven't, then you're the toxic one. This was one of those relationships that were super controlling, manipulative, emotionally abusive. I stopped going to the gym because it caused fights and arguments. This was anytime I hung out with friends, it was a situation where we were always fighting. We were constantly getting into arguments about things that I realize now why, but I thought all of it was my fault. I had to unfollow every male that I had on social media. It was a battle and a fight if I didn't text back fast enough. All of the controlling things that you can think of was just constant. Let's get into the running into of him. I just wanted to give a little context to why this is a little bit different than just like having an awkward encounter for me. Like, this was something that I made myself feel really guilty over, feeling so, not traumatized, but like this messed with me a lot running into him. And it's not, I'm being funny, and yeah, this is like, it's awkward running to your ex no matter what, but this was a lot more serious to me. So let's set the scene. Okay, this is at one of my best friend's weddings. I'm a bridesmaid and he's a groomsman. The night before the wedding, they have a rehearsal dinner at her house. So everyone is going to be there, okay? Like, everybody. So all of the bridesmaids and groomsmen, we all went to high school together. So this is like a fucking reunion, which is fine, but it adds its own stresses as it is, on top of, I know that my ex is literally going to be there and I'm gonna have to spend a longer period of time in this man's presence. And we didn't have like the most chill ending. This was like the first time I've seen him in years, which shouldn't matter. And I was like, buck up. Like, why is this controlling you? I'm hyping myself up in the car. You know, you're playing your songs, but I'm giving myself a pep talk. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really confident in myself. I'm feeling hot. So I'm like, this is great. Where everything's gonna be fine. I'm being dramatic. But like deep inside of me, I'm like disturbed that I was even anxious about being here, because I'm like, I have worked on myself so much. I've worked on my confidence. I know who I am. I know what I deserve. I feel so much better about myself and who I am as a person. So like, why is this little tiny thing causing me so much stress? I'm just being dramatic. Like, I'm just being crazy. But no matter what, I could not get myself to calm down. Like, the inside of my body was just like, my skin was just crawling. Don't even make it a big deal. You don't even have to look at him. You don't have to talk to him. You don't even have to acknowledge his presence. You can just go in there and interact with everyone else, have a good time, take some tequila shots, you know, as you do, and like, just to keep the sanity. So I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling hot. I'm walking in there, and as soon as I like see him, I just get like a punch in the gut of just anxiety, and I just avoid him. I avoid him like he's got a disease, and I'm like, knowing that maybe that's showing him I care, maybe, but I was like playing in my, like, you know what I mean, like I'm playing all these mind games with myself already. I'm like, well, if you talk to him, shows that you're a better person. and that you're above it. But then inside me was like, I have no desire to speak to this man. I have nothing nice or kind to say to him. I don't even want to put that energy out there. But then I was like, well, but avoiding him is also admitting energy, right? Like, I'm giving that energy. And I was just so pissed off that this is all that consumed my mind. I'm talking, I'm mingling with everybody, I'm catching up, everything's good. On the outside, I am like A1. I'm like, I'm killing it. I'm doing so good. But I'm like aware of where he is at all times. And I'm like, just like it's got a little GPS tracker. Like, I'm just like, okay, he's over there, he's to my left. I'm just gonna keep talking with this person, la 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 la, and then I know he's like over here. So it's just like, I'm on high alert this whole time. But his stupid little laugh, I would hear it from across the room, and it would just make me shrink into my skin and like shrink back into my body. And I was like fighting so hard to be like, just stay out. Like, what? Why are you so paranoid? There was like my I think like to think like my warrior self. She has like a sword and she's like, ha, I got you. And then there's like my little kid self like hiding behind the leg. It's like they were swip swapping all night long, and I was like, just pick one. Do I need to go hide in the bathroom, or do I need to like not even be bothered? By the end of the wedding day the next day, it was just that strong version of me was just gone. And she fought real hard, but she was tired. I was in fight or flight mode the whole time. But even with all the chaos like going inside my mind and my body, I still did a good job, and I'm really proud of myself. I still was teaching line dances to everyone. I was interacting with her family. I was interacting with all of our friends, and I had a good time still. And I'm proud of myself that I was even able to be in the face of him and be able to be unbothered, but also be disturbed at the same time. But I really was proud, and I was happy for this experience. So I was like, I've moved on. This isn't a longing to be with him or a sad about the breakup. This was like fear of him in a way. And also just, which makes sense. I think ultimately, yes, it was a toxic relationship, but this was a toxic relationship I had with myself that I had to confront. It was like, I remembered that version of me that I was when I was in that relationship, and that's what I hated and felt like I was confronting. I was confronting that part of me that let him walk all over me. I was confronting the version of me that was just so obsessed with him and was so, felt like I needed this relationship for my validation, and that sickens me. But like the mindset that I had behind this relationship was just to make sure everything was okay, that everything was smooth, that he was happy, and that I didn't cause too much mayhem with the mayhem that was already happening. I think I was always so mortified for the relationship to be over that I didn't want to change anything. I didn't want to cause any problems. I was like, as long as we're happy and good, it's good. The bad is bad, that's fine, but the good is good, so we're gonna be okay. It's so easy for me now to be like, what the fuck? Like, why did you stay with that? Like, why didn't you just say no? Why did you not fight back? But eventually I think I got into this victim mindset where it was all, especially after this relationship was over, of, well, he did this, he was the problem, he caused this, he was blah, blah, blah. And I was putting all this blame and control over the situation on him. And I'm not losing sight of the fact that this was a not healthy relationship and that he did have faults, but it's really helpful to acknowledge things that I did. I could have said no, I could have said fuck off, I could have stood up for myself, and I didn't. I let a lot of things happen that I shouldn't have. And so I kind of hated her. And after the relationship was over, I think I just reacted to it. I never actually took into account what was actually happening. And then that version of me, I just blocked out. Once I started finding a little bit more self-worth, I realized that I hated her. And I shut her out and just was like, well, she's disgusting. She doesn't have a seat at the table anymore. Instead of trying to understand the why and the patterns of why was I getting into these relationships? What was it about that relationship that I was in? Why did I not feel like I had a voice? All these kinds of things. And ultimately I had to deal with that. And it ended up being for the better, for sure. But I think I was just so bothered with having to confront all of those emotions. The best part was that I had to face a demon of mine, which it was an old version of me that I couldn't stand, a relationship that brought out the worst qualities of me, and I had to face her. I had to understand that just because I have some of those qualities and I was that way doesn't mean that she's all bad, and I had to forgive her for allowing those things to happen. This is something that I'm sending out as a newsletter, and I think that I'm a better writer than speaker. So I have been following it a little to keep me on track, but I really would like to read what I wrote because I think that is the better way for me to convey this to you, and I don't want to try to memorize this and perform it. I would rather just read it to you from me. So when I look back at this toxic relationship, I always ask myself, why did I even choose this person? Why was I so obsessed with him and with relationships in general? What was I trying to fill in myself? I wasn't just in a toxic relationship. I was in a toxic relationship with myself. And it showed me all of the ugly parts of myself and sent reminders of who I was, what I put up with, what I tolerated, and how much I neglected myself in that relationship. Looking back, I think another big reason to why this affected me so heavily was that I had no sense of self-worth. I relied on validation from others to fuel me. My worth heavily depended on how I was as a partner and if that person was satisfied. If they thought I was hot, what I wore, what I looked like, how good I was in cheerleading, how my body looked, and what I could do for other people. It's honestly sickening to think about now, but that's just how it was for me, and sometimes I still struggle with it. Back then I thought I needed a relationship to complete me. I thought being in a relationship would fix all of my issues. I thought if I could just find someone who loves me, then I would be happy. I was giving away pieces of myself, just trying to feel valued and wanted, even if that meant ignoring my own needs. And if you can relate to that, I know it's not easy, and that is really hard to understand. Maybe you're still working through some old patterns, or maybe you never even tried to understand why you were in relationships that you were in. But here's the truth. Healing doesn't come from blaming that person. It comes from asking yourself, why was I doing this? What was I drawn to in that relationship? What was I looking for? Was it to fill a void, to prove something, or to escape my own insecurity? I stopped running away from that girl I used to be and actually looked inward. I got to understand her and feel like I got a piece of myself back again and just built a deeper connection with myself. You start to realize like you are enough as you are. You don't need anybody else to tell you that. You don't need other people's validation. Now this is specifically with me and my issues and my flaws. I was a huge people pleaser, and there's still things that I deal with people pleasing, and there's so many different ways that looks like, and there's so many different facets in my personal relationships and why I got into relationships that might be different than yours. But it's really helpful to ask yourself these questions. But what I really want you to get out of this is like, you don't need anyone to make you feel whole. You are the only one whose validation matters. Other people and relationships should help enhance you and help you grow and be a better version of yourself, not keep you constrained or controlled. And this process doesn't happen overnight, but I promise you, you'll wake up one day and look in the mirror and see that like you're truly valuable. You'll fall in love with yourself and you'll understand yourself and be more in tune with who you are. And listen, we all fuck up. We have all had disgusting, embarrassing exes, and that's okay. It's okay. It's part of it, because as shitty as it is, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about people, and you're gonna grow. We're gonna run into these moments when we're tested and we have to face our mistakes. And it's super uncomfortable. It's super uncomfortable. But just know you're gonna learn something so valuable about yourself that you're gonna be able to level up. I held so much shame from these relationships that it just always bothered me. It bothered me that, and this wasn't my first bad relationship also. I've had a couple. And so I repeated those patterns multiple times. And that's infuriating in the sense of now that I can see it and I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, why did I allow myself to be treated this way? Why did I not value myself enough? Who is that girl? And I couldn't stand her. And that feeling is so painful. And if you're going through that, I'm so sorry. And if anything, I hope I could talk. I love feeling like I'm talking to that version of me, because she deserves love. She was doing the best that she could with the knowledge that she had. I shouldn't hate her. You shouldn't hate yourself for it. I would want her to know, like, it's going to be okay. It's going to get better. I mean, girl, we got to start taking care of ourselves first and journaling a lot more. Just know, like, it's okay. I don't look down upon you. I'm sorry that I looked down upon you for so long, but I'm happy that we found our way and we make it work. And if you're struggling, you got this. I'm sorry that you're facing this, but you're 100% capable of getting out of it. And if you are in a relationship that's not making you feel good about yourself, I hope that you have the courage and the strength to walk away from it. And I would absolutely love for everyone to share your stories or share an experience that you had, or maybe it was with one of your friends. And also, how are you doing now? I want you guys to be able to lift each other up and be support, because it's not easy. We're going to keep growing as time goes on, and we're going to learn different things. So don't be so hard on yourself. There's no reason to. Thank you for watching. I hope you check out the next episode. I will see you next Friday. Stay unhinged.